Donald Trump just capped off a phenomenal week for his presidency and the American people. Of course, he had the signing of the USMCA, remarkable private sector jobs numbers, a stock market that's shaken off even the coronavirus, and the cherry on top, as Sean just mentioned, his acquittal on both articles of impeachment earlier today. Now, it's largely because of these continued successes that President Trump has exposed the frauds on the left. They just can't take it anymore. And one in particular on the right. Well, let's start with Nancy Pelosi. Last night, she showed the world who she really is. A woman left with little else but her own sourpuss facial expression and a paper-ripping stunt. She let her anger get the best of her, and her white suit didn't make her look any more angelic. It was the color of surrender. Now, she wasn't the only person acting out. Utah's junior senator reminded us of why he couldn't connect with most regular working-class people. They don't like politicians who claim to be holier than thou when they're really just sticking a shiv in your back.
But my promise before God to apply impartial justice required that I put my personal feelings and political biases aside. Were I to ignore the evidence that has been presented, it would, I fear, expose my character to history's rebuke.
It's exposed it all right. He's the ultimate selfish, preening, self-centered politician. He has good hair and a sort of okay singing voice.
America, America, God shed his grace on thee.
It's a shock that didn't work. Well, he should try out for the Masked Singer maybe when he loses re-election. Well, he wanted desperately to be Trump's Secretary of State, and then he cast this futile, pointless vote to convict him in order to show that he's a man of principle, unlike all these other Republicans. It's called payback. But if he were up for re-election this year, the people of Utah would have their own payback against him. Because they were defrauded by Romney. For when he had to choose, he chose Schumer and Kamala over common sense and conservatism. If you're one of Romney's constituents in Utah, you're out of luck. If you're a businessman in need of a regulation re-examined, don't bother calling his office. He has no power anymore. If he even attends the Republican convention at all, he's going to get booed. Many of his colleagues will freeze him out. Few will trust him again. And could you blame him? And let's not forget what the Democrats and media said about him in 2012.
It was insulting binders full of women.
Mitt kenneled his Irish setter and strapped it to the roof of his car during a road trip.
Have you strapped your dog to your car, Jim?
That's what Mitt Romney has in common with the KKK.
Latest on Mitt Romney's plans to expand one of his homes by adding a car elevator.
The elitism, that's what it's about. Who can, feel anything in common with Mitt Romney?
Well, back then, there were only a few of us on TV and radio who defended you, Mitt. And we did this because we thought you'd be better for America. And the way you repay millions of people, the millions who did vote for you in 2012, is to throw in with the very people who don't share our goals, who hate us, and by the way, who still hate you. Does he not see what Adam Schiff and Pelosi and Feinstein have done to, let's say, California? And does he not know if they got real power, they'd do to Salt Lake City what they've done to San Francisco? Will he have the courage to have a real town hall to defend this vote? He couldn't even get simple facts right while debating Obama.
It was not a spontaneous demonstration. Is that what you're saying?
Please proceed, Governor.
I want to make sure we get that for the record, because it took the president 14 days before he called the attack in Benghazi an act of terror.
Get the transcript.
He did, in fact, sir. So let me call it an act of terror.
Can you say that a little louder, Candy?
He did call it an act of terror.
Yeah, well, Romney couldn't even have a comeback to Candy Crowley's coordinated response with Obama. That told you all you needed to know. All of this is a good reminder. Not trying to pile on him for the sake of piling on him, but we have to learn from all of this entire impeachment debacle. What a disaster the GOP establishment was for America. Think about it. Mitt Romney is the establishment. They were wrong on China. They were wrong on Iraq. They were wrong on immigration, wrong on the housing bubble, wrong on the bailouts, wrong on things like Harriet Miers and David Souter. For the GOP establishment, it was always about what was good for them personally or their conscience or Wall Street, not what was good for the average American. For a few brief shining moments in 2008 and 2012, some of us thought that Romney had a solid core. Boy, did he fool us. He was a Massachusetts liberal in 1994 when he ran against Ted Kennedy for the Senate. Then he moved a bit to the right when he ran for governor. Then he claimed he was a full-blown conservative when he first ran for president in 2008. And now, like all the other bitter never-Trumpers, he'd rather see the entire American economy go down the drain than give Trump a victory.
First, I do want to salute Mitt Romney.
The verdict of history is going to be on Mitt Romney's side.
He seemed to be reaching for the ghost of John McCain.
He's changed his place in history.
That was a real act of courage.
Mitt Romney, give me hope for the future.
Mitt, you made your stand. Now you should resign. You committed a fraud on the people of Utah, on the Republican Party, on the Constitution, and have thoroughly embarrassed yourself. Boehner retired. Ryan left Washington. Cantor was bounced out of office. They just weren't in sync with the priorities of most American Republican voters. And neither are you. Utah does not need someone who doesn't get his phone calls returned. They need an actual functioning senator, and Mike Lee can't do everything. Folks are supposed to enter politics to advance policies that improve the lives of everyday Americans. That's what Trump did. And his policies are working. But Romney apparently went into politics because of his dad or because he wanted everyone to think he was a good person. He never actually wins arguments or persuades anyone of anything. And at the end of the day, one man was trying to impress the elites in Washington today, and the guy in the Oval Office was not. All along, he was just trying to make America greater, and he has. Romney, I hope, enjoys his brief moment in the sun while he's lauded by the very people who spent the last 20 years attacking him. Because in a few weeks, the phone will stop ringing. He'll be lucky to get booked on Chris Cuomo's show. We won't ever forget. Utah should never forget. And if I have to move there to run against him in 4.5 years, I will. I do like that Park City skiing and the summer hiking. And that's the angle. Lindsey Graham will join us in a few minutes to talk about the president's acquittal and Romney's petulance. But first, old Nan's little outburst last night was the former House Speaker Newt Gingrich led to calling her to be censured. And Professor Jonathan Turley, the constitutional scholar who voted for Hillary Clinton, is calling Pelosi to apologize and change her conduct or resign.